I did something strange recently in that for whatever reason I felt like watching WrestleMania. I haven't watched a full WWE pay-per-view in I don't know. It's been some point after my daughter was born. Like I just didn't have time. I wasn't using it. I wasn't watching it. So I just like stopped. I got rid of the network and I stopped watching like wrestling other than like maybe some clips on YouTube and like gifs and stuff like that. So, and the pandemic really killed like my interest in the show. Like not having live audiences and having everything so produced and canned and stuff like that, and sometimes inconsequential and like not following each other on the shows, like people would be a big deal and then just be like disappear a month later. Like it was really hard to follow and it was hard to care about it. So um, with the audience coming for this WrestleMania and with it being basically free, I just did a free trial on Peacock. I just watched it. It was kind of weird. Like the skies opened up and my child went to sleep at like earlier time than usual. And I could just watch the entirety of a 2 day WrestleMania. So I did, and it was fun. Like it was weird, but it was fun. Like it was kind of like two things going on at the same time. Like I recognized the difference between like the wrestling I started watching in the mid 2000s and like the wrestling of today. And I recognized the weirdness of like watching a live like wrestling event with thousands of people in the stands, socially distanced, of course, but not socially distanced enough for it to not be strange. It was like strange to see that many people at like anything, like any kind of live event or gathering. It was very weird. Some people had masks, some didn't. Like what seemed like 6 feet away just seemed like right in your face. Like it was very odd. Um, it was also odd getting the show. Like I got Peacock right and worked on the computer, and I was like, cool. I tried to get it on the TV, and I realized two things. One, NBC Universal or and whatever company owns it, I can't remember which cable company it is, isn't getting along with Amazon. So we have a Fire Stick, and it's not that the technology isn't there to put the network onto or the Peacock app onto your Fire Stick. It's just that they don't agree with each other on the demands for how that's going to happen. So Amazon thinks that I'll probably make this wrong, but Amazon thinks that you should download the Peacock app on their app store, and Peacock doesn't agree with that. It's all about like viewer data and stuff like that. So they just don't have it there. And same deal with NBC Universal and Samsung. Like we have a Samsung Smart TV. The Fire Stick is attached to it because that was an easier way of doing things because stuff stopped working on the Samsung. And hey, guess what? Peacock doesn't work on the Samsung too. So I ended up watching it on the computer at like a weird angle or whatever. It's free, right? Like I used to pay, well, I didn't do it very often, but if you wanted to watch WrestleMania in like 2005, you're paying $50 to get it on pay-per-view. Maybe you'd split between friends. Maybe you go to a sports bar and eat some chicken wings and breathe in the cigarette smoke with 40 to 60 other people losing their minds. And that was an experience. But yeah, so it was free. It was fine. It was a fun show. Like the live audience was kind of there. It was so spread out that like sometimes you would hear them, sometimes you weren't, but I could still hear like the crowd when it was really loud, and I could sort of hear the announcers because I wasn't listening to it super loudly because somebody's asleep in the room next door. And none of the matches went over 20 minutes, and there was maybe like one or two stinkers, and that was it. Like it was a really good show. It was a rain delayed show, so like the first few matches were like weird in that regard, but once you started getting to like some of the bigger matches in the beginning, like it was good. It was solid. A night with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main eventing in a spot that they deserved to be in, and then they, you know, put together a match that deserved to be called a main event. Like that was really good. the second night with the SmackDown title and Edge and Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, two of my favorite wrestlers ever, and Roman Reigns being like the biggest bad guy on the planet right now. Like that was just like I wonder how people will view that match because that's like felt like what like wrestling is supposed to be. Like it's not. It wasn't like crazy or anything. It just seemed like it was characters you wanted to fighting in a way that like made sense without being super over the top, but also not being like super boring or basic or anything like that. Like it was good stuff. It's all very different than when I started watching though. Like the women are way better and are given way more of a chance than they ever were back then. Like no one's rampantly and obviously abusing steroids. Like it's just no one's bleeding all over the place. Like when I first started watching, like holy crap, Shawn Michaels and Triple H would just bleed for no reason. It would just be like, are, are you sure you needed to bleed that much, Shawn? This is just like a match on Raw. Like you maniac, chill out a little bit. So it was definitely weird seeing short-term change when it comes to a live audience versus not, and not having any expectation about what the live audience wanted. And I think in this show, like at some point they made Edge just be like the biggest bad guy. He was a good guy, and then he was like just despicable. And the live audience did not get that memo, man. Like he went out there, and the audience was like, "Yay! This dude that's telling us we all suck." Like maybe they turned a bad guy too fast. The live crowd obviously was into it, so and then just the difference in like you know I'm not saying like wrestling was better in 2004 and 2005 when I got into it, but it was definitely different. You can't argue that it wasn't different. Like, oh boy.